From Neural Newscast, this is Model Behavior, AI-focused news and analysis on the models shaping our world.
Welcome to Model Behavior. In this program, we provide a forensic examination of how artificial intelligence systems are being constructed, deployed, and utilized within professional environments. We focus on the intersection of technical innovation and the regulatory and economic frameworks that define the current AI landscape. I am glad you could join us for this briefing.
Today is July 31st, 2026, and we are monitoring a major inflection point in the economics of frontier models. Yesterday's comprehensive pricing announcement from OpenAI has effectively shifted the cost structure for the entire industry. It appears we are entering a new phase where the price of intelligence is falling faster than most analysts predicted.
OpenAI has effectively ignited a new phase of the AI price wars. They've announced substantial cuts to their GPT-5.6 series, with the smallest model in that family, Luna, seeing its price slashed by 80%. This moves Luna into a much more competitive tier, pricing it at 20 cents per million input tokens and $1.20 per million output tokens, Thatcher.
It is a massive move, Nina. For context, that puts Luna's combined price at $1.40 per million tokens. Looking at the broader market, that undercuts Google's Gemini 3.5 Flash Lite, which sits at a combined $2.80. It seems OpenAI is no longer content just competing on intelligence. They are now aggressively targeting the low-cost inference tier to dominate developer volume.
Exactly. And it was not just Luna that saw a shift. The mid-tier model, GPT-5.6 Terra, saw a 20% reduction, bringing it down to $14 per million tokens total. This aligns it exactly with the pricing for Google's Gemini 3.1 Pro preview for context windows under 200,000 tokens. However, the flagship model, Sol, is taking a different path entirely regarding its valuation.
You are referring to the new Sol Fast mode? I find that interesting as it actually goes in the opposite direction regarding cost. OpenAI is adding a premium mode that delivers 2.5 times the throughput for twice the price. At $70 per million tokens combined, Sol Fast is now one of the most expensive configurations on the market. Nina, is there really a demand for that?
For enterprise applications that are latency sensitive, the answer is often yes. Think about real-time customer support or interactive coding assistance, where milliseconds directly impact user retention. By keeping the Sol standard price at $35 but offering a high-speed alternative, they are essentially segmenting the market between those who need raw power and those who need extreme response speed for specialized workflows.
It also seems like a defensive move against Anthropic. Claude Opus 5 was recently released at the same price point as its predecessor, effectively lowering its price per unit of capability. By slashing Luna and Terra, OpenAI is forcing the industry to look at the price per intelligence metric, rather than just the sticker price of a single token. This forces competitors to justify their pricing against very efficient baselines.
VentureBeat actually highlighted this, noting that OpenAI is now selling what was flagship intelligence just 4 months ago for about 1/13 of the price. It is a rapid commoditization of reasoning capability. But while the models are getting cheaper to run, the people building them are becoming even more specialized. That leads us to the other big news from today: Jacob Tsimerman joining OpenAI.
This really caught the academic community by surprise, Nina. Tsimerman is a Fields Medal winner, an honor often described as the Nobel Prize of mathematics. He is taking a leave from the University of Toronto to work specifically on AI safety. One machine learning professor compared it to hiring Lionel Messi as a project manager. Why would someone at the peak of pure mathematics pivot to an AI lab right now?
According to an interview with The Atlantic this morning, Tsimerman believes we are at a turning point where AI systems are beginning to solve research-level math problems. He pointed to how OpenAI models recently disproved an 80-year-old conjecture and how Anthropic's Claude resolved an even older one. He sees math as the necessary language to take our fuzzy intuitions about AI safety and make them technically precise.
But Nina, he is coming from number theory, not computer science. In the interview, Tsimerman admitted he lacks a background in software engineering.
He argued that current AI systems are now so good at coding that his lack of programming training is no longer an impediment to running large-scale experiments. That is a stark statement about the current state of productivity tools and their impact on research.
It is, Thatcher, but I have to push back a bit on the safety focus. Many skeptics argue that these high-profile hires are often just more capability researchers in disguise. If Tsimerman helps these models reason more effectively through mathematical proofs, isn't he also making them more capable of hacking or bypassing existing safeguards? It seems like a dual-use problem that mathematics might not easily solve.
That is the dilemma we always talk about. Tsimerman specifically mentioned a report he co-wrote last year on omnicide scenarios, where he mapped out how AI could lead to catastrophic outcomes. He says his focus is strictly on the safety side, particularly on developing a theoretical understanding of why neural networks behave the way they do. He argues that without precise definitions, we're just guessing at control. He also expressed support for an open letter signed by over 1,000 employees at top AI labs, calling for the United States government to coordinate a slowdown if development reaches a certain danger threshold. It is a rare moment of a top-tier academic entering the industry with a very public and cautious stance on international coordination. It will be interesting to see how he influences internal policy.
And while OpenAI is securing the talent, Anthropic is securing the physical infrastructure. CNBC confirmed today that Morgan Stanley is leading talks to lend $15 billion to Nexus data centers to build a massive campus in Hubbard, Texas, specifically for Anthropic's workloads. That is a staggering amount of capital for a single project, highlighting the massive scale required for the next generation of model training.
What is most interesting here, Thatcher, is the financial structure. Google, which is a major investor in Anthropic, has reportedly agreed to backstop the deal with its investment-grade credit rating. This allows Nexus to secure that $15 billion on terms that would normally be unavailable to a startup. This financial engineering is becoming just as important as the model engineering in the race for compute dominance.
It shows just how deep the ties are between the cloud providers and the model labs. Google has already committed up to $40 billion to Anthropic as of April. By providing this credit backstop, they are ensuring that Anthropic has the compute to compete with OpenAI and Microsoft, while keeping the debt off Google's own balance sheet. This strategy allows them to scale without direct financial exposure.
Hubbard, Texas, is about to become a major hub for AI reasoning. This flurry of deals, including Anthropic's agreements with AMD, SpaceX, and Broadcom, signals that they are bracing for a massive surge in model training and deployment. However, this massive expansion brings us back to the significant safety concerns mentioned in the recently published International AI Safety Report, which paints a much more cautious picture.
Right, Nina. The report, which involved over 100 experts from 30 countries, specifically warned that our current risk management techniques are failing to keep pace with deployment. They pointed to the events of February 5th earlier this year as a primary example. On that single day, Anthropic released Claude Opus 4.6 and OpenAI released GPT-5.3 codecs within minutes of each other, creating an oversight vacuum.
The report claims there was almost no advanced coordination between the companies for those launches. When you have two frontier-level models with advanced coding and self-improvement capabilities hitting the market simultaneously, the window for safety evaluations effectively vanishes. Organizations start integrating these tools before any thorough bias or reliability checks can happen, which creates a massive lag in our understanding of their secondary effects.
And we are seeing the results of that automation bias now. The report mentions that as these models move from research releases into production-scale tools, like the ones Microsoft is deploying for engineering copilots, the lack of standardized safety frameworks becomes a systemic risk. It is not just about one model going rogue, it is about the collective speed of the industry outrunning our ability to monitor it.
It is a tension that won't be resolved easily.
OpenAI is slashing prices to win the market. Anthropic is borrowing billions to build the compute. And academics like Tsimerman are trying to build the mathematical breaks for these systems. All of this is happening as the International AI Safety Report warns that our current oversight is insufficient to handle the pace of these frontier model releases.
It really feels like the industry is in a move fast and break things phase again, but with much higher stakes than we saw in previous tech cycles. If we are entering a world where AI solves the hardest math problems, the technical barriers to entry are disappearing, but the safety risks are compounding. Nina, it will be interesting to see if Tsimerman's mathematical approach can actually provide results.
We will certainly be watching his progress as he transitions to the front lines of research at OpenAI. That concludes our technical briefing on today's model releases and the broader shifts in the AI industry. It has been a productive discussion, Thatcher. I appreciate you sharing your insights on these market changes today.
Thank you for listening to Model Behavior, a Neural Newscast editorial segment. mb.neuralnewscast.com. Neural Newscast is AI-assisted, human-reviewed. View our AI transparency policy at neuralnewscast.com.
This has been Model Behavior on Neural Newscast, examining the systems behind the story